Just ahead on News Channel 13, a North Country man faces charges stemming from a murder involving his mother.
A South Glens Falls parish is getting a piece of its history back again.
And saving while you grocery shop in tonight's Project Payday. Next on News Channel 13, a murder in the North Country shocks a small town and leaves one man facing charges. Plus, we'll talk with the real Naomi Judd about her daughters and her life on the road, and an ancient discovery in Waterford.
This is the Capital Region's #1 late news. News Channel 13, live at 11.
Tonight's top story, 2 people facing charges this evening in the death of a Lake Luzerne man. Good evening, I'm Chris Kapostasy.
I'm at Dague, and police knew where to look for the victim, Richard Rubel. Tonight they say his girlfriend turned herself in to police in Exeter, New Hampshire. That is about 30 minutes from Manchester. Bill Lambdin has the latest live from the newsroom. Bill.
Ed and Chris, police believe Gail Hanna murdered her live-in boyfriend 4 days ago, put him in cold storage, and then took off for New Hampshire. They're also charging her 26-year-old son with involvement in the aftermath of the crime. Police found the body of 51-year-old Richard Rubel in a freezer in the home he shared with 45-year-old Gail Hanna on Route 9N in Lake Luzerne.
What we know at this point in time is that a gunshot wound or wound is presumably the cause of death.
Authorities say they knew where to find Rubel. The Atkinson, New Hampshire police chief says Gail Hanna reported the crime after friends there convinced her to turn herself in. Meanwhile, back in Lake Luzerne, authorities have also arrested Hanna's 26-year-old son, Joseph Hanna.
Contemplated charges with reference to Gail Hanna, murder in the second degree. Contemplated charges with reference to Joseph W. Hanna, hindering prosecution in the first degree.
So authorities believe Joseph Hanna was not involved in the murder. Authorities believe Rubel was murdered last Thursday, placed in the freezer shortly after, then found Monday morning. And if authorities know a motive for this crime, they are not saying. Ed?
Bill, hindering prosecution is often lying to police about knowing where someone is, something like that.
Yeah, or presumably, if indeed this man was in the freezer, as authorities say he was, that's probably something that Joseph could very well have known. Something along that line would be the plausible explanation for the charges.
Okay, thank you. Bill Lambdin live in the newsroom. Chris.
19 people arrested as part of an alleged cockfighting ring pleaded guilty to a reduced charge of disorderly conduct tonight in Rensselaerville. All had originally been charged with promoting gambling and cruelty to animals. But police were unable to prove that fighting took place because veterinary tests showed the birds had not been harmed.
There was no scarring. There were no injuries to the birds. We don't know whether they had actually been involved in the fighting that they had allegedly been involved in, but since there were no injuries to the birds, we didn't feel we could proceed on that count.
All 19 people face a $250 fine.
An inmate in jail with Jeffrey Williams says the accused murderer described Carolyn Longzak's killing in detail to him. The inmate testified that Williams bragged about the killing. Williams is on trial now for the 1988 kidnapping and murder of Longzak. Earlier today, Dr. Michael Bodden took the stand to describe the forensic evidence in the case. Bodden is also a member of the O.J. Simpson defense team.
She was supposed to be taking care of them, but a Troy woman is facing charges tonight that she abused children at her daycare center instead. Colleen Simmons faces 15 counts of endangering the welfare of a child. She works at a daycare center at Building 12 on the state office campus in Albany. The building housed the state labor department, but the center is run by a private nonprofit organization. A parent's call may have started the investigation.
There were allegations of what I would consider very serious verbal and emotional abuses of her child. And some of the language used was rather graphic. And when you consider that, I think the age of this child was pre-kindergarten, it was 3-year-old, 2- and 3-year-old. They were rather disturbing.
The center remains open and very few parents have removed their children. Police say the daycare center cooperated with the investigation.
An ailing priest in South Glens Falls will get a special get-well present soon, a silver chalice stolen from his parish. Published reports say the chalice was among 200 religious artifacts in the trunk of a man captured in Buffalo last week. Police found the items when they arrested Robert Lee Dixon for allegedly breaking into a Catholic high school there. One of the chalices belongs to St. Michael's Church in South Glens Falls. The parishioners gave it to Father Curtis Hughes on his 50th anniversary with the church. Hughes recently had heart bypass surgery, but the chalice should be back in his hands by early next week.
An accident in Albany has sent one police officer to the hospital. Tiffany Eddy has the details from the News Channel 13 Operations Center. Tiffany?
Chris, it happened at about 7:30 tonight when Albany police officer Floyd Saunders was responding to an emergency call. He was driving with his emergency lights on through the intersection of Ontario and Washington Streets when he was struck by a vehicle driven by Warren Snyder. Both men suffered minor injuries from the accident and were taken to the hospital. Officer Saunders was treated and released from the Albany Medical Center. No word yet on Snyder's condition. No charges have been filed in this accident. It's still under investigation. At 11:05, that's the latest from the Operations Center.
Thank you, Tiffany. The leader of a Japanese doomsday cult, who police say masterminded the deadly gas attack in the Tokyo